Welcome to Marketecture, where you can get smart fast with in-depth interviews of leading technology vendors. I'm Mike Shields, and I'm here with Avi Brown. He's the Senior Vice President of Revenue Products at Samba TV. Hey, Avi, thanks for being here.
Hey, Mike. Glad to be here.
I want to get into your products now specifically, but maybe it might help just to connect the dots. You were talking about the early days. Was there a product, this is before ACR was the thing, was there a product where you're going towards the measurement business, ad sales, something else? What was the original maybe vision? And let's get into what you're doing now.
Well, it's so funny. So originally these guys were really, bridging the gap. When I say these guys, I mean the founders. Of course, I'm part of the company these days. Bridging the gap between great video content and the physical hardware that makes that content the most beautiful it can be, right? And of course, what I saw the moment that our content appeared on the screen, in Nick's office that day was an opportunity to insert in-stream ads. So this was 2009. I was actually part of the IAB's original digital video committee in 2008 that created the VAST 1.0 standard. So my mind goes, we got to put ads in here. How do we get ads, in this content? Just like we have. When you say
your content at that time, what do you mean by your content back then?
Well, I was running ad ops at a video publisher.
Okay, not Samba content necessarily. You're just talking about content you were working on at the time. Right.
Samba was brand new to me. I wasn't familiar with these guys or the company. And the fact that they had figured out a way to get our video content that we were monetizing through a web portal, just through a desktop website experience onto these TVs, I was like, wow, this is huge. Like all of a sudden we're on TV. And this is, mind you, several years ago. So I said, how can we get ads in here? And they said, well, you tell us. And so we started to collaborate. I showed them the VAST standard, partnered with their engineering team, and we figured it out. And I think between their engineering team and their proprietary tech on the TVs and sort of our appetite to bring new ad products to market, I was able to successfully ad serve and measure in a traditional sort of ad serving sense, in-stream video ads in our smart TV app, again, in 2009. So not 100% sure how historically accurate this is, but I believe that's the first time anybody had done that.
So you're not talking about linear television at all at this point. This is a singular app. You're almost experimenting with building an ad network for televisions at that point, or for video.
Yeah, it was less about an ad network type model and more about empowering publishers. Because again, I wasn't a Samba employee at the time. Samba was like a vendor that was building tech for us. So they were helping me and my ad sales team bring a new product to market, which was, hey, we've got this thing called connected TV advertising, way before anybody knew what that meant.
Right. Okay. Let's fast forward to today. I know there's been a lot of probably permutations over the years. What is or are Samba's primary products today?
Yeah. So first and foremost, these guys managed to do deals with over 20 brands of smart TVs, right, of OEMs, and therefore get the technology inside the TVs. They invented what we commonly call ACR, or automatic content recognition today. That was actually invented by Samba TV. So anytime you hear about ACR from any other company, it's effectively a copycat of the original ACR that Samba created. And so the idea is tech at the hardware level, detecting on the screen what the content is, sort of irrespective of the pipe to the screen. So if it's linear TV content, if it's a video game console that's being played, if you're streaming content, whatever it is, it can all be detected. And that includes, of course, the ads that are appearing on screen. And then the byproduct of that tech and that detection, of course, is the data that we all talk about and value as a market. So our core products today are really expressions of that data. So targeting is a big piece of the puzzle. And really the other side of the coin is measurement. Those are the two sort of biggest products that we bring to market today.
I want to break that down, but I just want to make sure we're specific on when Samba's first making deals with TV manufacturers.
Yeah.
Is it primarily to get the ACR tech into their software? Are you building the entirety of their software? What did that look like initially?
It's a really good question. So it's actually a lot of pieces of the puzzle. So first and foremost, it's about you can imagine that, the amount of hardware within a TV dedicated to processing is quite small. The job of a TV from a hardware perspective is to create the most beautiful possible image you could consume. So there's a tiny amount of sort of processing space available. And so ACR is a piece of the puzzle, but there's other pieces of the puzzle. So first and foremost, we want to create a phenomenal viewing experience for the end viewer. And so there are, features and products that we can provide to the OEM that enhance the viewing experience. So a great example of that is we have this sort of macro view of everything being consumed on the screen. So we can make content recommendations extremely intelligently. Normally if you zoom into a specific streaming app, you're only getting content recommendations about the content within that app. This is a more macro view across everything they do and everything they consume on their TV. Additionally, we have some very new technology that's AI. We made an announcement last year at CES about this, a feature called Picture Perfect. And Picture Perfect is able to, with the AI, detect the content on screen in real time, detect the category of that content, and actually adjust the settings, the picture settings of the television to, suit the best possible viewing experience. If you're watching an action movie, you actually want motion blur on. You don't want that weird soap opera effect. But if you're playing a video game or you're watching sports, you don't want motion blur on because you really want to keep track of those very specific details. So these are the end viewers' experience that are enhanced by our tech. And then, of course, when the TV manufacturers offer the consumer an opportunity to opt in for those features, we also give them the opportunity to opt in to share their viewership data with us so we can enhance those features for them. And that is really the origin of the ACR data.
Okay. Let's try and break that down a little bit if we can. A few questions. What TV manufacturers are you working with? About how many sets do you have maybe in the United States? And then if you could explain the financial relationship, are you paying the manufacturers? Are they paying for you? And also, do consumers know who you are, or does that vary by case by case basis?
So the last question is fascinating. Do consumers know who we are? It seems to be increasing the awareness that consumers have about us. We've noticed a lot more chatter on social media because we provide really valuable stats on popular streaming titles. And there just seems to be sort of a fandom component when that content is just content that people are really passionate about and they want to talk about the numbers. But for the most part, I don't think the average consumer knows the Samba brand.
Like, is it white labeled when I buy an XTV or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, no. If you go and buy a brand new Sony today and you bring it home and you connect it to your Wi-Fi network, you are going to go through a series of setup screens, just as we all do when we buy a new TV. And there will be a Samba logo on one of those screens, and there will be a prompt giving you the option to opt in. All of our data is 100% opt-in.
Okay.
We're really, of course, privacy by design, but also really focused on, hey, you can get some benefits, some features. We understand the importance of a value exchange with the end consumer, so they have a reason to opt in. So if you buy that Sony and you opt in, now you're in a position where you're going to have some new features turned on within your TV. And as a result, we're able to understand what content you're viewing and what ads you're exposed to.
Okay. And how many manufacturers, or can you name several manufacturers that you're working with, and maybe how many TVs or homes you're in?
Sure. Yeah. So I know you mentioned the US. So the US, it's 28 million devices. Globally, it's 46 million devices. These are devices that we're actively, deriving data from and utilizing that for our clients today. As far as the brands, it's household names like, Sony, Panasonic. I could go on, but it's a long list. One thing worth pointing out is the TVs with our tech in them have been distributed and are being consumed in homes in over 100 countries. Yet we're only actively doing business today in a handful of countries. So the opportunity and the room for Samba to grow into a bigger global business is enormous.
Thanks for listening. To hear the complete interview, subscribe at Marketecture.tv.